And before you object and raise up your arms like, wait a minute, what do you mean I don't need marketing? It doesn't mean no marketing will help you sell your coaching. What we're saying is that if you focus on marketing instead of the things you need to focus on, it'll often not help you sell your coaching.
It reminds me of a statement in Alex Hormozi's book, $100 Million Leads, which is all about marketing. He said that just because you get leads does not mean it'll help you convert or you will get clients.
Hey, it's Daniel, and you are about to watch a clip from our free podcast, The Coach's Journey, where we help you navigate the surprisingly difficult path of building a coaching business by people who are actually doing it. And we go live, raw and unedited every week in our free Facebook community.
Coaches Nation, welcome to another episode of the Coach's Journey podcast. I'm Daniel Fernandez here with Faisal and San, your co-hosts for our podcast today.
One other thing, I just got an email. I won't mention the name of this marketer, very successful marketer, who for the past 10 years that I've seen him, he constantly promotes other marketers, especially for coaches. And he knows that coaches don't need a bunch of funnels. I don't think he does it maliciously. I think he does it because that's his bias. He's a marketer. All he knows is to think about, even though he's amazing at sales. And I'm reading this email. It's the same type of email that I saw from him 10 years ago, and pretty much every year. And it's the same type of marketers that he's promoting before. And then he's sending it to coaches too. And I'm looking at that. I'm like, maybe well-meaning, but this will harm a bunch of coaches because they will go sign up for this program, just like I did, just like hundreds of other coaches that I know that I did. And then at the end of it, all they will end up with is a bunch of theory on how marketing works and no action towards getting clients.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about because I have done that as well. And the challenge when you sign up for marketing systems is that if the marketing leads people into your world and then you can't convert them or you can't get them to buy from you, the marketing is kind of wasted, right? Like if you do not have a process for sales, if you do not have the ability to take people from like meeting with you to buying your coaching, if there's no link there, then you can have a lot of great marketing that brings all kinds of people to your door, but then you'll waste it. It's like, let's turn on the fire hose, but we don't have any flowers planted. We don't have the ability to nurture a flower once you plant it, right? And so water's not the only thing you need. Actually, that's not a great analogy. The analogy is like, let's go buy a bunch of fertilizer, but then the fertilizer, we don't have anywhere to plant it. We have no soil. So, that doesn't actually work. And it reminds me of this movie, The Martian, where there is the main character is stranded on the planet Mars, and he has to, the only source of anything he can plant seeds in is like human waste. And so he mixed these little human waste pods and puts the little seeds in there, and he apparently grows plants out of it, but the science behind that is a little sketchy because you actually need soil and microbes and things to go in there. And it's not clear that would actually work. But the point is, like, you can buy a bunch of fertilizer, but unless you're on Mars in a sci-fi movie, it's not going to actually make your plants grow. You actually need a way for them to grow. You need to be able to nurture those seeds into clients. And the only time that happens for coaches is when they meet with you and have that call. I mean, yes, you could sell it on a webinar. You could sell your coaching through online ads, but at some point you're going to coach them, right? And so you have to be able to authentically and legitimately take them through a journey and a process. So, I mean, it's certainly possible to sell your program with a marketing funnel without interacting with them until they get on the call with you.
Yeah. And again, we're not saying that marketing funnels don't work to your email list or VSLs or webinars or workshops. We've tested different versions of them. And so I had a conversation last week with a coach who's been a coach pretty much the same amount of time that I have. Now, by all seemingly like surface appearance, like he's a fairly successful person in his own right. but for some reason he hasn't been able to move his business forward on the coaching end. And he said it like more clearly than I could ever say this, but he's like, I've tried everything except putting myself out there. When I asked him, he's like, what do you need to do? And he had a big realization in that process. I'm like, well, what does that look like? I thought you were doing a bunch of marketing. He's like, well, I haven't actually connected with people. I've been kind of behind my computer posting stuff, doing a bunch of online things. So for most people, the idea of marketing is social media marketing or building their email list. And that's what a lot of marketers teach. Nothing wrong with any of that stuff. Here's the problem. In most cases, coaches are selling high ticket programs, which means that a lot of your effort, a huge part of your effort would be in the sales process, not in the marketing process. And marketing process, what it looks like to coaches in reality, and when you watch and observe a business that's functional, what it looks like is they're putting themselves out there consistently. And that, so one of our clients in our community, that's like his sales slowed down a little bit. And this was a few weeks ago. And I asked my question, okay, and he's had clients for a while. He has a successful business. He's like, my sales has slowed down. And I'm like, where did you used to get your clients from? Like, what was working? He's like, well, I used to speak on a lot of events, podcasts. I would go to networking events, and he's in the real estate world. So
And
a
you
lot of
stopped
that,
doing what was working, right?
he would stop doing what was right. I'm like, well, what do you need to do? He's like, well, I think I need to go to some networking events. And today, he shared about he's like, I'm like, what's the win? He's like, I'm onboarding 2 new clients. Okay, and I'm asking like, where did they come from? He's like, well, one of them I went to a networking event. And that's, I mean, we forget the things that work for us, but the point of that is that he actually put himself out there. And again, I'm not saying that the only way to get clients is in person, but marketing is not just online. And I'll share my version of it. When I
But
started
before,
this
before you say
business,
that, like I want to point out, putting yourself out there is actually a form of marketing.
yeah.
It's not the same marketing as posting things on social media. There's a different, making yourself visible is not the same as just posting content. Making yourself visible in a context of support is what we're talking about here.
Yeah, and the equivalent of that in person would be before the world of social media. Putting posters on every pylon in your community. It's like, hey, I'm selling coaching. I'm selling coaching. And people are looking at that and it's like, who is this person? I don't know. It's like nobody's looking at that. The message is not clear. They don't know what you do. You don't have credibility. It's like people pass by it. Maybe once in a while somebody looks at it. This looks interesting, but you're not actually connecting with people. So the equivalent of putting yourself out there online is you're actually doing something to get on a call with a bunch of people. And here's why that's hard to do, because it requires you to actually, you could build like a webinar, but it requires you to bring a bunch of people to the webinar, which requires a bunch of marketing skills, which you don't have. The easier thing to do is to actually go to somebody else's event, go meet a bunch of people in person, get out of your computer, go speak at an event. If you're not speaking, go network with a bunch of people at an event, and pretty soon you're going to get opportunities.
What you're describing is connecting really with people.
Yes, and that's your marketing, is to put yourself out there and actually connect with the people in your network. And your network is bigger than you think. The main reason why people think that they don't have enough contacts or leads or those kind of things, because they haven't thought about that yet. And we can simplify that here as well.
Yeah, you have a huge network, right? It's like, okay, I don't have a network. Okay, that's usually an excuse. Well, you went to high school with a bunch of people, you worked with a bunch of people, you have a whole bunch of LinkedIn contacts, you have a whole bunch of Facebook contacts, you have hundreds, maybe thousands of people in your phone contacts. Why are those people there in your network? Like, why? Like, if you're never going to talk to them, just delete them, right? Like, why do you hang on to them? Well, might as well make it valuable for them or for you. So connection actually can lead to a lot of value, but you haven't tapped the field of what you have available to you right now.
And this is where courage comes in. This is where openness, vulnerability comes in. A lot of times when coaches talk about vulnerability, they're thinking about, well, am I telling my painful story, or am I crying, or those kind of things? That's an aspect of it, but this is when coaches feel very vulnerable. is when the first step is they actually declare, like they have something on their Facebook, on their LinkedIn, that they're a coach there, and they actually say that. Just even saying it out loud is difficult in the beginning. That's one step,
That's
and many
stage
coaches
one.
have done that. That's stage one, but that's not the step that actually works. That's the first step in a 1,000-step process.
Yeah.
But the real step that actually starts to get you clients is when you actually connect with people. So you might do a post, but you're also reaching out to people in the background in your LinkedIn. Hey, here's my post. Click on that and let me know what your insights are around there. And you're connecting with them. Hey, did you take a look at that? How I see that you're in my network. I make it a point to connect with people in my network. Would you be open to a 20-minute conversation? You don't have to sell anything. You're just connecting with people. Like even online, you can do a version of this. But most coaches will not do that because it's a vulnerable situation to be in, because you're thinking, well, what if that person reject me? What if that person doesn't talk to me? What if I look weird? Or what if this, that, and the other?
That will all happen, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. This is why business is not easy, because you're gonna get 1,000 no's before you get one yes.
Yeah, I want to highlight something you said, which is, the quote you said, I wrote it down because it was really, really useful for people to hear again. I see that you're in my network. I make a point to connect with people in my network. What you're not doing is saying, like, I want you to be my coaching client, right? Like, it's a very different ask, because when you're connecting with people authentically, because you actually do want to connect, you should know, like, okay, yes, absolutely, this is a valuable activity to build your coaching business, because some percentage of those people will connect with you and need your support, right? And
Yeah.
so part of this is actually connecting with people because that's what you want to do. You actually do want to connect. You want to build connections with your network, because your network is one of the few things that is just 100% yours, right? Like your brand and your network are two of the like irreplaceable assets that you can build. And so having those connections with people, you're building up those connections one at a time. Yes, it's not at scale. We're not marketing at scale here, because we're leading to connection, real connection. And that's where you need to have it. Also, the next step after you connect people is some percentage of those people. You'll need to be confident in your ability to take them from a connection to a client, if that's the right connection and value exchange for you and them, right? Like
Yeah.
if somebody needs your coaching, or somebody is requesting support, more accurately, then you have to be confident in what you do next. You have to feel like you can take that next step. And part of that is practicing. Part of that is taking people and asking them if they want support when they reveal some support need in their life. Part of that is offering that support. Part of that is inviting them to call. Part of that is making an offer when it's appropriate to do so, helping them make the decision to hire a coach. There's a lot of pieces of that puzzle that come after the connection, but the connection uh, comes first.
Yes, and we don't just connect, and yes, they could potentially become your clients, but my main purpose to connect with people is that there's somebody in their network, that could be them, but there's somebody in their network that might need my support. And they don't know how I support people or how I help people unless I first build a relationship, which is trust. And then next, they see the process with which I help people. And this is where another coach I talked to a couple of weeks back, I might have shared this in one of the podcasts. I asked her, she was struggling to promote herself as a coach, and I asked her, what is your process? What do you do? He's like, well, I've been reaching out to every friend, family, anybody, colleague, and she's taken this step to reach out to them. And I've been saying, hey, help me connect with somebody that needs this. And then she gives a description of what she does as a coach, and then she sends it to everybody. Now it seems
Yeah.
reasonable,
Yeah, it sounds
but
reasonable.
but it's a problem because if you've built a business, you know
Yeah.
that doesn't work, because no matter how great the description is, the problem is that the person who's trying to promote you, they don't know what you actually do. They might even send that message to a bunch of people, and maybe you might get lucky in the process that somebody looks at it, they've gone through something like this, they're like, oh, that sounds interesting. But in most cases it will not work, because the people that are promoting you, they don't know what coaching is, and they don't even know from the descriptions that you're promoting what that is. Most of the time they will assume that you do some kind of training or give advice, something like that, but that's not what coaching is, or at least that's not what the heart of it is. And I asked her, I'm like, well, how many people have you helped actually taken, how many people have you taken through your coaching process? Not like 10 sessions, 12 sessions, but 1 or 2 sessions.
How
And
many
she
people
goes,
have you actually coached and given them an
yeah,
experience of what it means to work with you, so they have the language to be able to understand that?
Yes, not just on first experience, then you can help them with the language. But and she's like, maybe one or two in the past 4 or 5 years. I'm like, that's where the problem is like, and this is where the hard work of coaching comes in, is that you might have to do a bunch of free or low cost sessions for a while until you get better at this process and until people understand what you're offering so they can connect you to their network.
And actually, this person you're talking about, they have reached out to lots of people, and some of them actually said, yes, I'm happy to promote you. It's not a bad opportunity for them to follow up with each of them and say, like, hey, I realized that you may not actually have an experience of what coaching is like, so it's hard for you to promote it or for you to explain it to other people. Why don't we do, especially if somebody is willing to promote you and wants to promote you, or to their network, and make that ask, or if they have done so without any responses, like the challenge, you can go back and say, like, hey, that I've realized that you may not understand really what it is that we do in coaching, and so why don't we have a session so you understand that, so it's easier for you to describe. And then after that, you can still actually make an offer if it's appropriate for them, but then you've given them that experience. That's a way to go back and connect with them again, right?
Yeah, for sure. And this now, minus the first piece where you're looking at, and this is how you're going to find your leads. If you're not a marketer, you're going to go through your phone contact, you're going to go through your LinkedIn contacts, Facebook contacts, all of them, and just categorize people into, the first category will be, these are people that trust me and know me. These are my friends, family, maybe colleagues that trust you. The second category will be people that you've built some relationship with them, but you haven't connected for a while. Third category would be they're just hanging out in your network. You have no idea who they are. You will probably come up with a good 1,000, at least 500 people in that network. You put those categories in front of you and start putting that list in there and start reaching out one by one. Starting with the first category.
Yes, yeah. But the challenge, let's address this question. The challenge you're going to run to, if you reach out to a lot of people, you're going to start having responses back. And then you're going to lose track of the people that you've reached out to. So if you don't have a little more intention behind it.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good problem to have.
It's a great problem to have, but then you start to feel.
The first problem is like, I don't have anybody. Well, the real problem will be how are you going to keep up with people? So go ahead.
Yeah. So if your problem is I don't have anybody, do what Faisal just said. But if you feel like you can't handle the response, I was just having a vision of you can't handle the response coming up in people's minds, then that's a great place to be, because that means you need some level of organization. So if you struggle to connect with people, practice connecting. If you don't think you're going to be able to respond, well, get to the place where you are struggling to respond to everybody. Now what you've done is you created demand for connection in your network, right? And so the more demand you have, the more likely you're going to have demand for connection, and the more for the support in your network to offer them. And there's no way to get there without that support need identified. And you can't do that without connecting with people. So so first, connect. And then in your responses, start tracking the stuff when you get to that place where you feel like, oh, more than 15, 20 people, you're going to start getting lost, right? If you have active conversations I'm talking about. And so even that could work if it's all on one platform, but if it's on multiple platforms especially, you may need to have a spreadsheet. And even just a list of names with the categories that Faisal said could be all you need. And then just the highest priority one, prioritize those ones by marking them somehow. That is a super simple way to do this. And I like to overcomplicate it. So don't make the giant spreadsheet that I've made in the past, like that eventually doesn't work.
Simplify the process, but the what Daniel is saying is sound. And a simple way to put this is that every week you're going to have a bunch of new people you're going to reach out to and a bunch of people that you're going to follow up on. So all you're tracking is new people and following up with people that you've already reached out to multiple times. You don't need to get more complicated than that. And this is something you either have people that you're supporting, like your calendar should be people that you're doing if you don't have any clients, you're doing a bunch of discovery calls with. If you don't have discovery calls booked, you're booking your calendar to go into your contacts and reach out to people. That's essentially your marketing. And then the rest, 90% of it will be your sales process.
Yeah. So to simplify the calendar view for you, I think what you're basically saying, Faisal, is like block time off in your calendar for the outreach and connecting, like the outreach and the follow-up, like new outreach and follow-up outreach. Okay, that's the time in your calendar. Now, if you don't have any to do, that time can be used to look into your network and figure out who should be on the list, right? Categorize people. And then once you start doing that, now you have like things to do. Now you have a list, right? When you have a list, start going through the list. Start with the highest trust and go down to the lower trust, right? And then when people start responding, have them book those times in your calendar. Some of those times are technically reserved for the clienting. That's fine. You can make sure in your calendar those times aren't all booked, so they have some space to book. But when people start getting interested, you can also do it manually. You don't have to use a Calendly link. You can just say like, "Hey, how's Friday at 2 p.m. for you?" and put them in there. And then more and more of your time over time will go to having discovery calls. And the more discovery calls you can have, the more experience you can have, and the more confidence you'll have taking people through that sales process that you take them through. If coaching is the right fit for them, and that sounds really slow because it takes a while to take somebody from connecting with you, multiple interactions to get them to a discovery call and then to make an offer. That could take some time. It also can go pretty fast too. But the thing that's the slowest is actually your lack of confidence. That's the thing that'll slow you down the most.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And while you were talking, I remembered this quote I sent to one of my clients. I love this. It says, "The most dangerous person in the world is the one who continues to show up every day, even when the rewards are not guaranteed." And then the second part, "Your potential is determined by the amount of uncertainty you're able to tolerate and how long you can tolerate it for." And that therein is the problem for business owners, because business requires you to do a certain amount of things that are uncomfortable for a long period of time before you see any results.
Oh yeah, totally. And sometimes what you do is you don't see results, so you change things. I've done this myself. Like I remember I was launching some coaching programs, and the launch went really well. We got like multiple cohorts of groups built, and uh, it went really well. And then we started trying to get innovative and started to do different launches. And we started struggling with what were the launches for this thing. And then we started coming up with new ideas. What we should have done is just done the exact same thing a fourth time and a fifth time and a sixth time and a 10th time. We would have had a way bigger community. And ultimately, we couldn't continue that business because we kept on changing what we were doing. And the reason that we were changing is because we thought something wasn't working well enough. But every time you iterate, it gets better and better and better. And so it takes way more time than you think it takes to optimize and to perfect and to build upon your successes. And do the Bruce Lee quote, 10,000 kicks versus 10,000 different kicks is not as scary as I'm butchering the quote here. I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times, not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks one time each. Right?
Yeah.
Like you need to just keep on repeating and iterating. And if something doesn't work at all, there's probably an opportunity to iterate, right? If something works a little bit, there's probably an opportunity to iterate. No matter what happens, there's an opportunity to iterate. And sometimes, you might be doing the wrong thing, but you won't know until you try.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to share one last story. I actually had a training right before this for my community on the power of no, power of saying no. And I remembered a time, this was around between 10 and 8 years ago, when this is what my routine looked like. Even though I would teach something different, I would wake up in the morning, I would look at my email, and I kept refreshing my email. And the reason why I would do that is because I'm like, has there anybody reached out to me? Why? Because I posted this landing page with a questionnaire in there where people would fill out, and nobody.
The equivalent of checking your likes constantly, right?
For days and weeks and months. It was painful. And I even got excited once because there was a period where for 2 days my email wasn't working, and I saw some problem with it, and I called GoDaddy, and there's like, yeah, and then I even got frustrated. I'm like, what if people were reaching out to me? Nobody was reaching out to me. So I'm like, oh, well, that's why nobody was reaching out to me. And then I waited another few weeks and months. But and the here, and that's what we call reactionary work ethic.
You know what I call that? I call that field of nightmares as opposed to field of dreams, where it's build it and they will come. In coaching, it's field of nightmares. It's like the total opposite. Build it and nobody will care.
Yeah. And then eventually, as I realized that that's not going to work, and I started building a structure based on my vision, based on my goals, like, you know what? No, when I do have time to work on this, I am dedicating time to reach out to people. I'm dedicating time to put myself out there. I'm dedicating time to things that make me uncomfortable. If I don't have anybody to coach, my main purpose is to put myself out there and start building relationships. And that's essentially the game. And the first piece is put yourself out there, which is marketing. But that doesn't necessarily mean it will give you clients. What will give you clients is if you build real relationships consistently over and over and over and over.
I think
And if,
go ahead.
go for it. Go.
I was just gonna wrap up with the thought that the big lesson that you just said was build real relationships consistently. Because I know Rich Liffin, I was just reading a little bit in his book, second edition. If you don't have it, get it. But the lesson, his business model, his business plan is meet fun and interesting people. I think the next layer up is build relationships out of those meetings, and the next layer up is consistently take people through the process of determining whether you can support them and turning them into clients. It's like a 3-layer process, right? Meet people, build relationships, support people. Like that's like the ultimate lesson, and you don't do like each one relies on the one below it.
And even if you haven't signed up ahead and you listen to this afterwards, because it's going to go out afterwards, definitely join our free group where you're going to get lots of bonuses, free sessions, lots of consistent feedback on a daily basis that will help you to build your business and serve more people.
All right. Thanks a lot, Faisal, for another podcast episode. I hope people found value from this. And please comment below or share this with your other coach friends. Let them know if you got some value out of it, and let us know what you thought and how you're going to apply it. And we'll see you next time at the Coach's Journey podcast.
Bye.